everyone, it's Becky here. So today is my third day in New York City and here I am at Battery Park. The Statue of Liberty is there in the far distance. Here I am waiting for the ferry. Tons of people are waiting to board on these ferries. Yeah, so these baristas here, they're so cute wearing the crown of the monument. Hello, Miss Liberty. It's so nice to see you for the very first time. You were in my dreams. And yeah, hi, really admiring her. And here I am, landing on Ellis Island, and I really love this heritage building of the Immigration Museum. So now I'm getting ready for a one-page sketch, starting with my number 2 pencil because it has a pretty strong sense of perspective. I'm just gonna do a quick pencil layout in about 5 minutes. So I started with the foreground element, the tree on the left, and then laying out these large chunks of rectangular prisms. This is the key area of the building, kind of like a tower. And then moving on to the left wing and the right wing, adding in these small units of windows, and as well as the entrance, the front door. Just make sure I'm including the essential areas of this building with pencil. So it saves a lot of effort and worry. Okay, so now I'm ready to really improvise on the rest of the details of this urban sketch. So now I'm starting with the left edge of the building, the left wing, and then drawing this foreground element, which is a tree, starting with the trunk and then these 4 boughs. So after the boughs, I'm seeing branches splitting from each of these boughs, and just drawing as many branches as I could. I just love the lovely, happy shapes of these branches. They are like dancing in the wind and giving so much life to this urban sketch of concrete and bricks and static human-made objects. Okay, and just keep building up with some tiny little twigs here and there in between, and then just drawing this janitor's stuff. And there's a little booth over here for the schedules of the ferries. Yeah, and then starting to add these inner details of the window panels of the little booths. A bit of accentuation, and then adding a few more trees in the distance. They look smaller because they're far away. And then adding a bit of wrinkles and bark texture for the foreground tree. Now I'm starting to add these early autumn leaves, one gap at a time, using these squiggly lines to depict the little clusters of leaves. Yeah, so basically I am seeing the directions that these leaves are hanging from the branches and quickly summarizing, just capturing the right directions that they're laying out on those branches, and that's it. There's no need to copy every single leaf that's on there. And yeah, so I think that's very much it for this tree's canopy. Adding a little bit more details for the trees behind. Now I'm ready to move on to the main subject matter, the museum building. Starting with the left wing, adding in these white concrete blocks of bricks, and then a few more leaves overlapping, covering some of these windows on the 2nd or 3rd floor here. Yeah, so each window frame at a time, and then the other 2 are hidden behind the leaves of the tree. And then quick horizontal lines for the concrete bricks, the borders for the side of the building. Okay, so my goal is to fill in as much details for the left wing of this building without overlooking the other areas of this building. Otherwise, the project seems way too challenging. Okay, so these bricks in nice pattern over here is really cool to add into. And then this dome shape of the side entrance. The staircase is going up kind of like a slope, filling in the details for that. And then 4 little windows surrounding this side door over here, and this nice castle lined borders for these windows. And then the inner depths for these window panels, dividing them into tiny little details of crossing lines Now, moving on to the second floor after drawing the border between the first and second floor. Yeah, so all of these are very much like patterns, but the rectangles on the very left side is pretty small compared to the one on the right because the perspective is shifting away from us, the viewer, there on the left side. And then filling in these minor details inside the window panels. Okay, now moving on to the next large unit, the tower area. Again, the tower, as you can see, is a very tall, gigantic rectangular prism, dividing it into, let's say, 2 to 3 medium units. Yeah, so I'm just dividing it into a pretty small slot over here in the belt area of this tower, adding in a couple of windows there and the classical designs of little columns. And then the bottom large section of the tower area. And again, paying attention is rectangular prism in perspective. So all of these horizontal lines above our eye level, they're going downwards towards the left, trying to meet in the vanishing point several meters outside the page. Okay, now I'm working on to the higher area of the tower. The top is a round dome, which is my favorite part. Yeah, and my camera's lens is kind of reflecting onto the top of the tower there, which is kind of a really cool effect. Adding the details for the dome. And then, yeah, that second top bottom area. And then this triangular shape, which is pretty common in classical style buildings. Another triangle on the right side is looking a little foreshortened. And then enlarging the dome a little bit, because it actually should be a little bit wider there. A small mistake there, but it's easier to hide. Adding some more concrete bricks. And then the narrow but pretty big window here, facing the front. Adding as much little details in quick summaries as I could, and then accentuate the window area with thicker lines in a nice curve there. Okay, and the right side of this rectangular prism shape is a little foreshortened or narrowed because it's not facing directly to us. Okay, so now I'm drawing the right wing of the tower. This is actually the main entrance area of the museum. Yeah, it's a pretty big rectangular structure there with layers folding in. And then these brackets hanging. Okay, so most of the right wing's lower level is actually being obstructed by some tourists in front of me, and I was trying to ask them to move a little bit, but they couldn't understand English. So while waiting for them to move away, I added more details for the tree's canopy here. Alright, and trying to make the tree's canopy look fluffier by adding a bit more details. And now coming back to the tower section over here, the lower levels. Now I'm adding these concrete bricks over here on the left and right side, adding a bit of accentuation just so the bricks it really pops up from the surface. And then these graphic inner details for the entrance area. So now I'm ready to draw the design of the arch surrounding the entrance. Okay, now I want to just go back to the tower area to finish these little windows here facing the front, shading in those window panels with solid brown ink just for a sense of depth. And then adding the details of the flowers in front of the building and more foreshortened bricks on the right side of the rectangular prism shape. Now drawing the sign of the Immigration Museum with the words on it. And another vertical section of bricks over there. Now I'm moving on to draw the arch shape and layers of panels. And then dividing the arch into numerous pieces of bricks inside this rainbow shape. And drawing more wrapping curves inside the arch and then dividing them into smaller units of old-fashioned window panels. latticed style. Yeah, and keep drawing the smaller details, accentuate some of the small panels, so this area look a little bit more prominent. Okay, now I'm ready to move on to have fun painting watercolors, starting with the sky as always. So I just wetted the sky area actually with clear water first, so it's easier for this mix of cerulean blue and a little bit of cobalt blue, and trying my best to skip around these leafy areas of the tree's canopy, and also blending on a little bit of lime green, because the middle to the bottom part of the sky, as I mentioned before, has a hue of turquoise and even turquoise green later in the day. Yeah, so the sky's colors is actually pretty unstable. It's not always that same blue all the time. Okay, so that's it for the sky. I'm pretty happy with it. It's looking pretty sensational, supporting the building behind. Now I'm starting to add the first layer for the museum building, starting with the warm yellows, as always, because yellow is a color that could get easily contaminated. So it's just easier and more effective to start with yellows in the very first step when painting our main subject matters. Just laying out yellow onto these white or gray concrete areas, because it's a bright sunny day. All of the white and gray things, they are kind of illuminated by the warm yellow color from the sunshine. Okay, now painting the spirit color of this building, which is a kind of a really warm terracotta color. And this is just the first layer. It's a mix of orange and a little bit of burnt sienna. Contains a pretty high ratio of orange because I want this first layer of color to be pretty saturated without mixing in way too much brown. Yeah, so it's mostly orange. And there's another brick building behind on the left, so I just use a little simple patch of color of orange-brown to suggest that. And keep punching on some diluted yellow ochre for the other white concrete areas. And now I'm ready to grab some leftover bluish gray to paint in these shaded areas of the windows as well as the concrete areas. Okay, now it's time to have fun punching in this old-fashioned turquoise green for the dome there on the top. Yeah, and I missed painting this area that should be a brown color right under the dome. So just using the leftover color there in my palette. Alright, so now it's time to kind of add a bit more gray for these window panels, bluish grays. And now having fun painting the tree's canopy with, starting with yellow-green, which is a mix of yellow ochre and just a tiny bit of viridian green or hooker's green to show the illuminated leaves by the sunshine, and then gradually adding a bit of mid-tones of green with a higher ratio of viridian green in the yellow-green mixture for a little bit of contrast. And also I'm adding a bit of sepia for the right side of the tree trunk, and also partially for the branches as well, to give the tree skeleton a bit of three-dimensionality. Now adding a bit of brick texture for these terracotta areas. So I'm using a small brush right now and use little dashes of brush marks to depict the feel of bricks of darker shades of brown. And now I'm moving very much closer to the last stage of my painting process, which is to add contrast, including the shadows and accentuate the shaded areas with a mix of cobalt blue, a little bit royal purple for a vibrant kind of gray. And in this last stage of the painting process, I'm also pushing for a little bit more details, including a little bit more contrast for the tree's canopy using smaller brushstrokes as well as the intense shade on the very right edge of the tree trunk, which is really dramatic. Because the tree there on the left is a foreground element. It needs more detail and contrast for it to really come forward. And then adding some more diluted bluish grays for these concrete areas, especially underneath those eaves. Yeah, and keep adding some more shadow of the tree landing on the left wing of the building. and using some more intense or less watery orange-brown colors, tiny brushstrokes for sharper feels of the bricks. Yeah, so right now I'm punching on these tiny brushstrokes of shaded green, but not way too harsh. It's diluted with a little bit of water. It's a mix of viridian green and a little bit of burnt sienna. Some final polish. That's it. Here is the look of my finished sketch. And it took me about 1 hour and 20 minutes or so to draw and paint. There's actually a lot to see for this urban landscape here, but I really enjoyed the process. And it's as busy as it could get here. So here I am sitting on the ground on my winter jacket, and my back is kind of hurts a little bit right now after 1 hour, but it's kind of worth it. Yes. So after having lunch and walking around a little bit before departing Ellis Island, I decided to sketch this view of the people waiting to board the ferry back to Liberty Island and back to New York City. Okay, so here I am. I really want to include these foreground trees. I think drawing trees is one of my favorite things to do other than food, because they just add so much more elegance to an urban sketch. So my film actually ran out of battery power, so I didn't film the whole drawing and painting process. So I just want to give you like a quick idea of what I'm doing. So yeah, I just drew one foreground tree over there, and then another foreground element is actually these people and the railings behind them, inviting the viewers into this little landscape. Now I'm drawing more of these trees. They're laying on different horizontal levels. As you can see, the bottom of the trunk is landing on different horizontal levels, giving a very simple but effective sense of steps. So again, when drawing trees, I like to start with the organic shape or outline of the trunks first, and then expanding on, adding as many branches and twigs as I could, adding one last person there, and my battery just ran out. Okay, so after charging the battery a little bit, I'm ready to move on to the painting process and filming it. This is not a very ideal filming location because the sun is pretty much shining directly on it. But here, as you can see, I'm having fun with being so expressive of the sky. I want to give the monument there in the distance a sense of enchanted look by spicing up the colors of the sky more than just blue. So I'm using cerulean blue as well as green and yellow on the bottom. So the sky is burning with energy and power of freedom. Okay, so now I'm ready to paint the first layer for the ground area. Again, as I mentioned before, I like to start with the very first layer with a yellowish wash to show the luminosity of the sun on everything, and then yellow-green to start off for the grassy areas. Quickly punching on some burnt sienna and also some darker sepia colors for that heritage building on the other side of the river. More yellow-green for these trees canopies there, for that little bank area there. Using choppy brushstrokes to show the rippling water, which is a mix of cerulean and cobalt blue. Using burnt sienna and a little bit of yellow-orange for the top of these tree trunks and branches. Wet onto wet, some darker sepia. Yeah, so trees on a bright sunny day, they are so much fun to paint. I can see so many colors and values of yellows, yellow browns, and darker sepias. Yeah, adding some contrast right now very quickly. The faster that we paint, the more energy and liveliness we're going to inject into the things we paint. And contrast is always the key. So when you're adding those shade colors, make sure those shade colors are indeed very different from the previous colors you used. Okay, adding a stronger value of red-brown or terracotta for the heritage building there. It's kind of echoing with the trees there on the left. Yeah, so very similar colors. Now I'm starting to add the shadows of these trees on the lawn here using thin brushstrokes of mostly viridian green. and then some yellow-orange for these trees canopies, shade color of green for the bottom of the canopy so they look more fluffy and spherical. Some more shadows using leftover bluish gray. And then starting off with the first layer of the leaves using yellow-green. So again, this is very open-ended. You could get any kind of yellow, mix it with any kind of green to get the type of yellow-green that you like. And then painting in the shadows of these people along with the trees. The shadow of the trees is extending all the way onto the walkway here on the right. And then painting in the rippled water using wet on dry technique. Very thin brush strokes of concentrated cerulean and cobalt blue mix. Yeah, and after the yellow greens are dried, I'm adding contrast. So mostly Viridian green with a tiny bit of burnt sienna in it. Final polish. That's it. Okay, so here is a better view of my finished sketch of the monument, the Statue of Liberty there in the distance, the rippling water, and my personal view of this landscape here on Ellis Island. So thank you so much for watching this video, everyone. If you like it, please click like and leave me a comment below. Subscribe to my channel for weekly updates. So I try to update my channel with about 2 new videos every week. Lots of creative inspirations. I will see you again very soon next time with a new adventure tutorial in New York City. Bye everyone!